Charles, what is this famous saying about you can vote your way into a socialist regime, but you can't vote your way out? It's like the socialism Roach Motel.
It really
How
is.
are you?
I'm great, Jason. Thanks for asking. I hope you're well. The Yeah, I've been watching my X feed closely, and I now see what I fully expect to see will be amplified through the November election. Posts from innocuous sounding accounts that say China lifted 800 million people out of poverty with their system, whereas the capitalist system has created Elon Musk, the first trillionaire, and rampant inflation. This is a complete bullshit argument, soup to nuts bullshit argument. You don't see people swarming around the world uh, into communist China, to try to find a better life there, right? People do that in America, and so what they're going to try to do, these people who've been force feeding communism, they don't call it communism at the elite what passed for the elite universities, but they've been force feeding children and then impressionable youths um, into believing that the capitalist system is evil and will collapse, and that the communist system, they won't call it communism, of course, is just all unicorns and free shit, and um, you won't have to pay anything, and you might have to do a few things like surrender your freedom entirely, but the system is rubbish. It should have been picked apart long ago. Um, if these universities are now simply pushing this nonstop and only promoting people into tenured positions on faculties, if they subscribe to these crazy beliefs, these are not validly tax exempt organizations, and they should be stripped of their tax exemption and try to compete in the market, in the actual marketplace. But you have a cabal of people, and I said this back in 15 and 16, and 10 years later I'll repeat it. We need to have a full-throated debate over whether capitalism is better or worse than communism. We need to have that. And great that these people are out there, pushing specifics of their platform. I mean, the specifics that this guy who won the Michigan Democrat primary and others, they actually believe in abolishing the presidency, abolishing the Senate, eliminating jails, i.e., just freeing all people who've been convicted, eliminating the borders. That's what they believe. That's in their program. And
Eliminating jail is the craziest part. Just let out I mean, we already basically have that in New York City, but they're going to let out. I mean, it,
yeah, and what they play various games. The Islamic ones, first of all, people need to be familiar with this concept of taqiyya, which is spelled various ways in English, but obviously only one way in Arabic. And what it in essence means is that a devout Muslim can lie if it furthers the cause of bringing about a global Islamic caliphate, which is the goal. You can lie. So you can go to an audience and say one thing, and then in private say something completely different. Now, people like this hateful moron, Hassan Piker, who is spouting off crap that would make Nazis during World War II blush. He said for example, he said that he wants John Fetterman, who is a Jewish Democrat, he wants his head on a pike.
I don't think he's Jewish, but he's a big supporter of Israel.
No, Fetterman is Jewish.
Is he?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe I'm wrong.
The internet says no. The internet says Dutch.
I thought he. Oh, okay. Well, I stand corrected. But anyway,
but he also wanted them to kill, I think, maybe Rick Scott or something.
All capitalists.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, and this way of talking, where I have a clip on X where I forget who it was who was saying this. It might have been Hassan Piker.
Yeah.
It was saying like, and then up talking, with his crazy jewelry on his hands, and
Lots of rings, right?
yeah, and why is this? Why are people listening to this guy?
I don't know.
Who's pushing this guy?
Yeah.
So, if Bernie wants to talk about this idea that um, some politician has a better idea for how to spend your money, your income, or your wealth, and therefore he should have your shit. I mean, this is going back to caveman days, where one caveman wants another caveman's, I don't know if they had wives back then or a partner, and just goes, takes a rock and knocks the other caveman on a head and steals his wife or his girl. I mean, this is theft. And you look at where's the evidence that the government, any government, knows how to spend money better than any individual? Where's the evidence of that? Please explain the gigantic federal debt and a deficit, a federal government deficit that has been closed, I think, maybe 2 years in the last 50. There's no evidence that government can spend your money better than individuals can. And there's abundant evidence that, as an acquaintance of ours was explaining yesterday, a friend of yours, that gigantic bloated bureaucracies inevitably magnify waste. And show me one government that's gotten smaller, right?
Yeah.
And so when Zoran Mandami is taking credit, or scam dummy is trying to take credit for a new program that offers childcare, free childcare in New York City, to how many children? 2,000. How many children are there in New York City? I mean, it's
Get
a
like
complete
2
joke,
million.
right? I mean, he has these stage managed events. He tried to do one in Staten Island. He got booed off the stage. He should know better. But his ideas are straight up stupid. Every single government run grocery stores. Um, Idea after idea, eliminating rent increases in rents and certain types of apartments in New York City. I mean, the man is a fool, and I think he should be given as much time, airtime as possible. But then I also think people like you and me and others need to get up and take what the guy says, dissect it, and explain to the world how nutty and stupid this is. And if you want to live in Spain, for example, and suffer through what the Spanish people are suffering through now and will suffer through again. Apparently, there's another group of migrants scheduled to come in on August 15th. It's coming from all across Africa. If you want to, if you want to live in that place, Ceuta, which is Spanish territory on northern African soil, you want to see people just swarm into your territory and then swarm into your property and then start stealing your shit, and maybe killing you or raping your daughter or wife or whatever. You want that, go live in Spain. But in the United States of America, and in particular in Michigan, yeah, Michigan does have indeed um, cities like Detroit. Now, let's think about Detroit. Detroit used to be Motor City. I mean, it used to be in the 50s and 60s, Detroit was hopping and happening. Detroit is like fucking Warsaw after World War II.
It's funny, Charles. It's not funny, but they had in RoboCop the premise is that you're in the future and it was new Detroit and it's just this like total like crime zone. And
Right.
frankly, it's certain aspects of it are mild compared to what actually has happened. I didn't realize this. I know you knew about it, but maybe a lot of people didn't, that Detroit declared bankruptcy in
Right.
2013. So what happened as a result of that? And I mean, you've often said that New York should do that.
Yeah. See, the problem is that cities like Detroit and cities like New York, are sized for some cities like this had much larger populations in the past. And instead of, as the populations flee, instead of taking government and saying, we don't really need a government as large as we had, the response is, oh, no. We need more government. We need to pay them more, better pensions. It's just compounding the problem. You get to a point where the private sector cannot be taxed enough to pay for the public sector. And you also get to a point, particularly now with AI, where you could look, as Doge tried to do, you could look at a city government, a state government, federal government, and you could say, well, why are we doing things this way? For example, why do we have schools across and universities across the West? Why are they still set up to an agrarian timetable? The reason schools are shut in the summer, beyond the fact that there wasn't air conditioning in the South and it was crazy to try to do that, is that back when this system evolved, most people lived on farms, and school age children were essential to help the farm, so they had the schedule run that way. Why not do either start school later or finish earlier? Why not run it 11 months of the year?
Make people less stupid.
Yeah.
It's hard to do.
You could completely reimagine. And let's go back. There's something I believe, but I saw it, somebody posted the conclusion that virtually a majority of every article in every article is published in peer-reviewed scientific magazines. And I don't know if they had this timeline, I would guess from 1970 forward, are false. What is that? These are peer-reviewed articles, right? Anyway, if you're saying 50+% of them are false, what are these peers doing? How did they become peers? You need a root and branch restructuring of academia. The tax-exempt organizations in the United States control $14.6 trillion of assets. And they're not regulated at all. It's the opposite. It's like if you want to expose fraud there's all, well, we'll get around to that. We'll give you, you file a Freedom of Information Act request, and we'll give you your answer in 256 years. They're making a mockery of this now. They're taking certifiably stupid people. You got a simpleton running Chicago, a moron running New York City, a lunatic running Los Angeles, another one running Seattle. And these are all, the major media markets, most of them are run, you have governments that are run by lunatics. And then you have the press corps covering Trump is in, stage 9 Trump dementia syndrome, and Trump derangement syndrome, And we really need to have that movie Network, where the anchor just goes crazy and shouting out the window one night. We need to have those type of moments. And, Tucker Carlson uniting with Joe Kent and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tom Massey, that is not a prescription to fix the ills of the country. That group of people has no management experience at all. None. And they're certainly not Republicans, conservative Republicans.
Didn't Tucker have some announcement for tonight? Yeah. They're launching a third party movement.
It's not going to work. If you had a third party that was led by somebody like, that guy Mike Rowe.
Yep.
The ordinary guy.
Jobs or whatever.
Yeah, somebody like that could pull off maybe.
Well, these people are too polarizing, is what you mean?
No, Tucker Carlson. Do you think people are going to empathize with somebody who has two beautiful? I think each home is like $10 million. One wasn't enough, so he has two next to each other in some super exclusive white enclave in Florida. He's got a trust fund, compounds.
Charles,
living off
look
the
at this.
grid.
Look at this. He's got a book called The Ultimate Guide to CIA Skills, Tactics, and Techniques. This is,
Who is it?
I guess, oh, John Kiriakou wrote this, I guess, but now Tucker Carlson is publishing that. I mean, Tucker Carlson, his father was CIA. He admits that. I just don't believe that the CIA allows John Kiriakou to publish a book about their skills and techniques.
Well, I think it's also deeper than that. I think what's going on here is that, and I think I glimpsed some of this in my work on GE and also now on the Clinton Foundation. I think that elements within the UK are much more influential in US politics than you would believe. Much more influential. They're influential in academia. They're influential, you know, picking winners and losers with these Rhodes scholarships. And the English, the British, have held on to roles atop the global governance system that might have been, in quotes, deserved when they were running the world, you know, back in the 1800s or the 1700s. But today, if you look inside London, you look inside England right now, um, what they're doing there, it's empathetic suicide there. I mean, their own nation has been hollowed out, is a screaming advertisement for not investing there. And these people, you know, running Britain into the ground certainly should not have outsized influence of the UN and diplomatic circles. But what do we think is really going on? I mean, why are we mired in this Ukrainian mess? In part because people in the UK want to destroy Russia for some reason. I mean, maybe the hatred goes long back, but you know, this is not the goal of destroying Russia is not a goal that is shared with more than a fringe minority, probably 3% of the United States, if you think about it. Right? So you have to go through, and any Anglophile organization in the United States has to be deeply suspicious. You have to be deeply suspicious about it. And for people who speak English, English media, books and books written at Oxford and Cambridge and professors there are still taken too seriously. These
Speaking
people
of
are,
Anglophiles, Charles, this guy, what's his name, Al Sayed, he's a Rhodes Scholar, went to Oxford.
I know, and he's a moron.
Not good.
So there needs to be some radical surgery here performed, and I don't think MTG and Tucker Carlson and Thomas Massie, you know, are going to resonate at all with the people who went out to the Trump rallies. Now, Tucker could well command a decent audience, but are his policies that smart? Does he have any management experience? I mean, you know, he in his youth particularly, he was very glib and good on TV. But when you drill down on some of his policies, they make no sense. And again, you know, somebody who likes to talk is not the person you necessarily need reinvigorating an export base in manufacturing, high-tech manufacturing. I mean, Tucker is not anywhere close to understanding what needs to be done in that area.
But is he saying he's going to be the candidate? We're going to have to look into this a bit more. We've only got about 5 more minutes, but we'll look into some more of that, maybe even listen to what he's saying on the sponsor exclusive segment on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Just shifting gears for 1 second, Charles. This might have just happened, but Florida has subpoenaed Anthony Fauci, focusing on his self-dealing during the pandemic. Maybe he was getting kickbacks from Tinder.
No, I think he was getting kickbacks from drug manufacturers.
Right. I know.
Yeah.
Pretty bad.
No, I mean, this idea that you can get a fat pension that you shouldn't have because of all your years of sacrificing, serving the public, when in fact you're enriching yourself off various contracts and royalties and other deals, is preposterous. And again, is that going to be reformed? And I think America is thirsty now for to see the goons who ran GE into the ground, and Jack Welch made $1 billion doing that personally. Coming from the right, I want to know when I invest in a company that the SEC and the Department of Justice are actually policing corporate fraud. I want to know, because it's just so tempting. I was in the room at GE. I'm trying to put a project together, and I saw how those greedy bastards work. They seriously took the view that they were spread out across so many countries. Whose law should we respect if there's a conflict of law? We're above the law. We're globalists. And fines. These are just costs of doing business. So we do what we want. That can't be the way in which the world functions. In a corporate sense, you should be forced to say that you are tax domiciled in one country or another, and your operations around the world, you're going to have to follow U.S. law rigorously. And if a country says that to operate in this country, you have to flout American law, well, don't operate in that country. That's simple. We're big enough that we could do that.
Speaking of other countries, Charles, what's going on with Iran? It just seems like every day they say there's a deal and then there's no deal. And
well, it's now past parity. I mean, it's this idea that there was a deal. Trump said, Bessent said there's a deal. Now what I'm hearing is, yeah, there's a deal. There's a deal between Iran and Oman. There's nothing to do with the U.S.
What is that deal?
They both are going to protect shipping and likely charge tolls. This is, Trump knows better than this, right? I mean, he's done more deals than I've ever done. He knows how good deals and bad deals. This is, either the military is completely inept, which I don't think it's completely inept, or people in the military are trying to sabotage Trump, which is possible. But we should have had, we have to have learned our lessons from Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghanistan. When you have a mission that nobody really changes on a daily basis, that is not something you want to engage in, right? You have to have a clear objective. What is our objective in Iran? But at this minute, we look preposterous.
Trump
and it's quite dangerous, because if we just cut and run, for example, then no rival's going to take us seriously. And if, God forbid, this lunatic wins in the Senate and other DSA people win in this November, then Trump is a lame duck for sure. And what challenges are going to emerge in Taiwan, in the South China Sea, southern border, inside our country before the election on September 11th, the 25th anniversary. I mean, this is really dangerous stuff. And where are the victories? I'm getting tired of losing. I'm supposed to be tired of winning again. So much winning.
Yeah. Well,
not to mention yet another possible assassination attempt against Trump in California.
We're going to get into all of that, Charles. We'll be back in just a moment. I hope people will join us on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. We'll be right back.